ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 2 of the series. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Narrator POV. It had been a week since the incident at the apartment complex. After a week of negotiations, with Maki doing most of the talking, it was decided that Izuku would pay a fine and needed to keep more control of the situation. He thought it was nonsense, but decided it wasn't worth his time messing with it. Now it was time for another mission, this time in new pairs, to test chemistry with the other members. Currently, all of them can be seen in the classroom, all with a variety of new looks. Mai had joined them again, this time wearing a traditional mechanic's outfit with some aspects of what looked like a Jujutsu outfit tied around her waist. Yet the unique thing was the little mechanical robot moving around on her desk, making her smile. Tamaki sat behind her with a coat variant of the uniform, a sickly gray hue to his uniform, his eyes void and tired as he had the collar over his mouth. He looked off into the distance with a melancholy look. Bakugo and Melissa sat next to each other, both wearing the standard uniform, with the only difference being a scarf. Bakugo has an orange scarf around his neck, and Melissa has a green scarf around hers. Ochiko wore a white uniform with a pink hue to her buttons as she sat in the front, with a skirt on her bottom with black leggings to go with it. She had a nervous look on her face as she didn't want to meet Izuku's look as he sat at the front of the room. Yui wore a dark hue uniform close to Maki's design as she had spent more time with the sorcerer due to the same circumstance the two had. The unique part of her was the charm bracelets around her wrists and the necklace she had on, with each charm a cursed tool that she had shrunk down for easy access at any time. Fua had a normal attire with a jacket attached to her, matching her fuzzy earrings with its fur-lined insides. She casually blew bubblegum as she waited. Gyro was absent due to still recovering from a fractured skull, making the rooms silently dim from those who knew her, though the class had to keep going and not think about it. Denki also wore the white uniform after being promoted to special grade after the apartment incident. The only difference he had from Ochiko was some blank pants and yellowed buttons. He sat next to her, making it obvious who the two special grades were. And lastly, Momo wore the traditional Jujutsu uniform, with the skirt option seeming to be preferred to her hero outfit. Izuku found the costume the first time he had seen it online. Though, to be honest, he had seen worse, so he couldn't judge that harshly. Izuku stood in the front of the room with Maki standing next to him with an annoyed look. On the board behind Izuku, it said a few words in Japanese that all of them understood. New teams, plus missions. Izuku, today, you will all be sent out on missions with certain partners. The reason for this is that you can't get complacent with working with the same people. That leads to weakness in this line of work. Weakness means death. That got the class's attention as they all looked to Izuku, who now held a tablet in his hand. Pressing the button causes everyone's phone to chime. Izuku, I just sent everyone their mission details and who they will be working with. Now, so just in case you guys have trouble reading, I'll tell you who you're working with. Momo and Ochiko, Mai and Tamaki, Yui, Fua, and Maki, Melissa and Bakugo, the only pair Izuku didn't mind being together again. Izuku. And lastly, Denki, you will be with me on a special mission. Besides that, good luck with your missions, my cogs. The class soon dispersed, each finding their partner and how they would get transport to their mission, while Denki followed Izuku outside, where a limo was waiting. Both got in and began their journey to the destination. Denki was curious about where they were going since he didn't get any notification like the others, making him confused, but he felt like it was a bad idea to question his master. However, his curiosity got the better of him once they had exited the city, and the mountains of Japan started to cover his vision. Now he just had to ask, where were they going? What was the mission? Denki, master, where are we going? Izuku snorted as he woke up. Izuku, huh? Oh, we're going to Kyoto. Specifically, Higashi Temple. Denki, why the two of us? Is it another special grade? Izuku, HM. You could say that, but not a Karis. Denki. What? Izuku leaned forward as he gained a serious look that made Denki unnerved. Izuku, we're going to kill a rogue sorcerer. Denki's heart dropped as his eyes went wide, and a deep fear began to rise in him, making Izuku grow disappointed slightly as he felt the change in the car. Denki's mouth felt dry as he took a swallow, trying to find the right words. Denki, you can't be serious, sir. I can't. Izuku, Denki, Denki, Denki. Don't be naive. Just like there are people who abuse the power they are blessed with in quirks. People do the same with curse techniques. The only problem is that if they are too strong, there aren't many methods to stop them besides killing them. So, yes, we're going to kill him. Understood. From the tone of Izuku's voice, Denki could tell this wasn't up for discussion and shrank in on himself, feeling like everything he ever fought for was just wrong. Izuku sighed as he decided he needed to step in. Izuku, when the time comes, Denki, you're going to have to decide, him or you. Now, let's talk about who you are going to fight and how dangerous he is going to be. He has a curse technique similar to yours, instead of dealing with fire, like a brotherly technique between the two of you. He has killed 467 people, with 20 of them being sorcerers. I know you're hesitant about killing him, but this one needs to die. Denki, why? Why is he so strong? Izuku, when I was training sorcerers in Korea, a few years back, he was one of them. I messed up, and he killed all of them, every single one of my students. Just to impress me, he disappeared before I could kill him myself. Now he's leaked his location to our organization, for only one reason, to get my attention. He is either stupid enough to think he can challenge me, or he wants to harm my students. Denki couldn't help but feel scared. How could he fight someone who has killed so many sorcerers? Sorcerers who were probably more experienced than him. Yet Izuku wanted him to kill that sorcerer. Izuku, our job is something where making it to an old age is unique, a line of work where only the strong survive. Mercy, peace, and selflessness only stagnate you. In our line of work, being a hero gets you killed. However, Denki, I believe you are one of the special ones, someone who could get gray hair, someone who could stand at my side as one of the strongest. Izuku put a hand on Denki's shoulder, causing a sense of relief to fall over the young man as he made eye contact with Izuku. The glasses were gone, revealing a pair of emerald eyes. Then all of a sudden, Denki felt like he could win, that there was nothing to worry about. Like he was staring eye to eye with a demigod. How could he fail this man? The master and student walked up the stairs of Higashi Temple, walking by several charred corpses, making Denki begin to fume in anger. Yet Izuku remained dangerously calm. Soon, they reached a set of large red wooden doors where Izuku snapped his finger, causing them to explode inwards, opening them to the foyer. The two stepped in, finding more corpses and a lone man sitting at the feet of a Buddha statue. His figure was muscular as he had no shirt on and only white GI pants. His skin looked ashy in color, along with his hair, giving him a skeletal look even though it wasn't his actual skin color. Rogue, Master, it's been so long, you got my message. You ready for me to kill you? Oh, and you brought your new toy to come watch. Izuku, Bullham. Can't say it's a pleasure to see you again. Still, my greatest mistake, huh? No, you won't be fighting me. You're going to fight your superior version of yourself. His name is Denki. And trust me, if you haven't gotten stronger since the last time I saw you, you don't stand a chance. Denki stepped forward, trying to make himself look bigger than he felt like. It didn't help that the cocky smile on the rogue sorcerer disappeared as Denki stepped forward. Instead, inspected the sorcerer in front, trying to see if he was a threat or not. A fiery red aura of curse energy surrounded Bullham as he slowly stood up. The heat emanating from him was so immense that the golden Buddha statue that he stood on began to melt. Denki instinctively responded by activating his energy, causing his cloak of yellow curse energy to surround him and blue lightning to crackle. Bullham didn't like the response and roared in anger as he jumped down to challenge Denki, falling towards him like a shooting star. Denki leaped up like a lightning bolt towards Bullham, causing an explosion of power between the two as Izuku watched from a distance. The two constantly clashed across the room, neither getting the upper hand as each blow got blocked by their curse property, neither doing real damage to each other. Each hit canceled another out, and only the actual physical damage that would normally land from a punch was happening. It was like two magnets canceling each other out. Even though they were polar elements, they were equal in power until one gained an upper hand. The other's curse property wouldn't take effect. Izuku took a seat in the corner of the room as he pulled a yellow journal from his backpack and began writing something down as the two continued to battle. The floor got charred and scarred from their properties as they continued to fight. Izuku concluded that Denki was indeed the faster of the two but was sloppy when it came to combat, relying on his speed to avoid damage. While Bullham was indeed the stronger of the two in physical capabilities, but his use of his curse property was sloppy. Yet, if anything was to decide this battle, it was who would evolve first, who could overcome and adapt. Denki's eyes seemed to glow as he weaved under a swing from Bullham and countered with a gut check. Luckily, for Izuku, Denki's ability to adapt had always been impressive, which has helped him to grow in the midst of battle. Which is why Izuku believed Denki was going to win. This time, their exchange allowed Denki to land a combo that knocked Bullham through the side of the temple, knocking him outside into the forest. The moment Bullham connected with the ground, it became a lit starting a forest fire along with the trees around just from his sheer presence. Yet, once again, that fear and doubt inside Denki seemed to vanish the moment he truly was in the fight. There was no more doubt in his mind, only victory. Denki rushed forward to Bullham, and as he reached him, a bolt of lightning crackled off him and connected against Bullham, tearing his arm clean off and a portion of a tree. The tides had changed. Bullham leaped back, staring down at his missing arm with annoyance before groaning as a new one grew back in a few seconds, making Denki grossed out and concerned, but still in a ready stance. Izuku hummed as he watched from the top of a burning tree, sitting on a large branch as it smoldered, not concerned in the slightest. Izuku. So, he learned the reverse curse technique. I'll teach you about it later. Continue on the offensive. Denki grew serious from his master's orders as he rushed towards Bullham once more, this time instead focusing on defense now that their stalemate was broken. Each connection now causes a decent amount of damage on Bullham, but Izuku could tell he was holding himself back like he was waiting for an opportunity. And the opportunity came when Denki tried to go for the same move that tore his arm off before. Bullham predicted it as he barely dodged and landed a hook into the side of Denki's face, causing a massive bane mark to appear on contact, stunning Denki in pain. Bullham didn't care as he went on the offensive, showing his true hand as he landed devastating blow after devastating blow on Denki. Izuku watched with a neutral expression as he continued to write in his journal. Burn prints and scorch continued to litter Denki's body as he couldn't escape until he collapsed to his knees with Bullham standing over him in victory. A frown crossed Izuku's face as he scanned the scene, and sighed as he rested his head on his fist. Disappointment was clear on his face and posture as he continued to watch. A loud sigh escaped his lips, forcing Bullham to look to him with a cocky grin. Izuku, it seems I made a mistake. He was playing with lightning the whole time. However, for lightning to lose to such a faulty copy. What a waste of time. Guess I need to find another elemental spirit user. If my theories are correct, there should at least be a water or earth. Let's finish this loser and go check on the other cogs. Before Izuku could hop down to end it, he felt Denki's curse energy flare, making a large smile cross Izuku's face. As the large burn mark on Denki's face began to heal, along with the other burn marks, Bullham cursed in Korean as he tried to attack Denki, but Denki was gone in a bolt, appearing across the burning forest with a different aura about him. Izuku, my. Denki, you just keep shattering my expectations. Truly an excellent choice. I'm sorry for doubting you. Bullham backed away from Denki as he grew nervous. Everything in his plan was going awry. He wanted to kill the strongest to show the world the flaw of his system, yet this monster was with him. Bullham, screw it, he can't learn this that fast. F it, I'm going to kill both of you here and now. Bullham clasped his hands together, curling the middle and ring fingers until knuckles connected, His index and pinky fingers touched to the fingertip as his thumbs curled in until hitting his palm, as he pointed all of them down to the ground. Bullham, domain expansion. Izuku appeared next to Denki and put his hand on his shoulder as darkness consumed the two. Denki was completely caught off guard as he looked around in confusion, not even questioning how Izuku was able to touch him without getting hurt. Izuku, this is the domain I've been telling you about, Denki. Stay close, or you will die. Now, explain the basics of one to me. So, he unlocked his domain and thought he could challenge me because of it. How naive. Denki gulped as the scene around them shifted until it became a wasteland where the ground was ash, and hollow trees surrounded them with a fiery forest so thick that the sky was blocked out. Bullham, Fire God's Playground. Denki, a domain is the sorcerer's ultimate technique. They set out the mental landscape onto the battlefield, allowing all attacks to land without exception. Izuku, close enough. We will fix that later, but I never told you how to break free of a domain. Usually, it's impossible to brute force your way out of a domain, with the only viable method being to kill the caster. However, there's a way easier way to handle a domain. Izuku brought his hands together, pointing them towards himself as he connected the thumbs at the top while all his front knuckles connected with each other. Izuku is to lay out your own domain expansion. Immediately, a white canvas spread out from Izuku and consumed Bullham's domain. The white canvas soon shifted as cases of books formed with hundreds of shelves with thousands of books, as a Gothic library began to form with stained windows that brought a heavenly glow into the area. Then the final portion came in as a grand clock with golden metal formed on the ceiling as it hung over the whole domain. It chimed as its singular hand began to click. Izuku, Library of Autolycus. Bullham and Denki looked around in, or as Izuku sat down in a chair while pulling out a book. Both appear randomly from somewhere in the library. Izuku, Denki, how do you feel? Denki looked to his hands and flexed them as his electricity crackled off him even more, causing him to smile. Denki, I feel unstoppable. Izuku, good. So does he finish the job? Denki, yes sir. Denki zoomed at Bullham at even faster speeds than ever before, with Bullham barely keeping up, but his firepower was stronger than before. Izuku hummed as he watched from his seat, the book in front of him slowly getting written by an imaginary pen. The clock chimed a second time, making Izuku's smile grow slightly as the clock that hung reached the halfway point. Denki weaved under a fiery fist and landed another strand of lightning that tore off Bullham's arm and leg, which regrew instantly. The fight had turned into a bloodbath due to both being able to heal. Now it was a fight of attrition with both being boosted due to Izuku's domain. It was truly a battle to see who was stronger. Something to satisfy the strongest. The fight came to an end right at the third chime as the clock began to sing. Denki tore Bullham's head off with a rogue lightning, tearing it clean off by the neck. Denki waited for the body to get up, but it didn't. Instead, it lay still, it slowly staining the white marble floor. Though the moment the clock chimed, the domain began to fall with Izuku walking behind Denki. Usually, Denki would feel disgusted after killing a person, but right now, he just felt pure pride with a large smile on his face as he shook with power. Izuku saw an opportunity. Izuku, good job, Denki. You defeated a special grade sorcerer. Denki, why was I so strong? What happened to me? I still feel so good even now. Izuku, that's my domain. I made a vow where my opponent's potential is fully brought out and leveled up. So that was your full strength if you were to bring it out now. So do you think you made a mistake in becoming a sorcerer? Denki looked to his hands, seeing the dead body of Bullham between them, but he ignored it as he focused on the electricity bouncing between his fingers. Denki, not at all. Izuku, good. Put your hand on my back. We've got to get back to Tokyo now. Ochako and the Ponytail One need help. Denki, what about the forest fire? Izuku, let the heroes handle it. Ochako and Momo could be seen running for their lives as they tried to weave through the streets of an abandoned town, as large booms echoed throughout the city. It seems the first grade they were sent to fight was actually a special grade deity of an old abandoned town. A large white humanoid hand tore apart a building as it peeked around the corner, showing a blank face before opening, showing hundreds of teeth. As a shrill scream echoed throughout the town. "Ochiko! Oh no, oh no!" panted Ochiko as she continued to run with Momo barely matching her pace. As they reached the end of the street, the curse stopped and decided to grab a building and just throw it at the two. As it was about to crush the two. Clap! They waited for impact, but none came as they looked up, seeing Izuku standing in front of them with Denki. "Izuku. Goodness, it looks like we came just in time." "Ochiko." Ochiko looked up to meet the eyes of Izuku as he stared down at her. He did not look happy in the slightest. "Izuku, we're going to have a talk when we arrive back at UA. Now watch a master finish this. Denki, protect them while get to work." Izuku began walking towards the monstrosity. He began to mutter under his breath, causing the zipper of his backpack to slowly release a golden light behind the cage. Izuku clasped his hands together and formed a hand sign, his hands forming the head of a wolf. His shadow began to morph behind him until animal figure formed. A giant white wolf formed next to Izuku, easily the height of a semi-truck and the width of one as well. It howled as it stood on two legs like a human. Izuku clicked a watch on his wrist as it started to count down to an unseen time. The wolf wasted no time rushing towards the curse and taking a chunk of its arm in seconds. The curse screeched in pain as it tried to crush the wolf with a stomp, but it retreated into the shadows before it connected. A screech lightning came from the sky as a plane-sized bird thing launched a bolt of electricity against the curse's back, bursting a hole through it. The wolf then reappeared from the shadows going into the hole and began tearing the curse apart from the inside, until it tore out from the head with its brain in its mouth. The curse began to dissolve as the wolf began to eat the brain. Izuku made a second hand sign causing a deer to form and radiant a white aura from it healing Momo and Ochiko. Then both the wolf and deer disappeared as Izuku clicked his watch. "Izuku, 1 minute. Could be better. Okay, let's head home and rest. Sushi on me." Ochiko looked down with a frown on her face as she avoided eye contact with the young man in front of her. Izuku and Ochiko sat in one of the many conference rooms of UA. It had been an hour since they had returned from her botched mission, and well, she could tell Izuku wasn't happy the moment he called her for discussion. The tension in the room was palpable as Izuku just continued to stare at Ochiko without a break. Izuku finally sighed as he took off his glasses and just stared at her with disappointment, his emerald eyes never leaving hers. This was the first time she had ever seen his eyes. She had thought something insane would be behind them, something that could wipe out a country, yet all she saw and felt was green eyes on her. Yet, she felt the power from him still, like an overwhelming pressure constantly weighing down on her soul. "Izuku, Ochiko, why are you using your quirk again?" Ochiko closed her eyes, ashamed as she got caught. Izuku's eyes glowed briefly before he sighed. She had made it to 70% per 30% from her battle at the hospital, but since then, it had reversed to the opposite, where her curse output now rested at 30%. "Izuku, why Ochiko? You were making so much progress. At one point, you were even stronger than Denki. Why throw that away?" "Ochiko, you said we can choose which one we desire to focus on based on strength. I decided that my quirk was stronger than my curse technique." "Izuku, we both know that's nonsense. So tell me the real reason, because we both know your curse technique is stronger. So what is the real reason?" Ochiko didn't answer right away, instead looking to the table before finally deciding to respond. Looking for the answer she thought would satisfy Izuku. "Ochiko, I can make money to support my family more easily with my quirk. My curse technique is stronger, but currently, how Japan views Jujutsu, it's not a good source of income." Izuku looked at her like she was the dumbest being he had ever met in his life, before sighing as he began typing on his phone. "Izuku, money? Really? That's it? You do know you get paid, right? Have you checked your account at all?" "Ochiko, no. I usually don't since it just makes me sad." Ochiko began to grow confused until she decided to pull out her phone and check. Her eyes bubbled out of her head as she viewed the amount in her account. "Ochiko, I didn't even know there could be that many zeros." Izuku finished tapping some final things in his phone before standing up, bringing Ochiko's attention back to him. Izuku, and your family just received a very sizable donation and job from the Jujutsu Society. So there we go. The money problem is solved. So we're gonna work on that curse technique now? Ochiko, of course, sir. Thank you so much. Izuku, don't think about it. Just get back to your former strength. And next time, if you have a small problem again, just let me know. Izuku turned and left his protégé in the room alone as she contemplated everything that had just happened. She felt bad for lying to her master, but she felt like he knew that he couldn't fix that problem within her. He was right. She didn't even think she could fix what was wrong with her. Ochiko looked at her hands, at her slightly faded pads, and sighed as the war crossed her mind. Toga's final smile to her before she passed it made her heart ache. She didn't want to give up her quirk because it was her last connection to her. If she were to lose it, she didn't know what she would do. Yet, Ochiko couldn't help but think if she had her chaos technique instead at the time. Would Himoko be alive now? She would have been strong enough to stop her. Maybe get through to her. Maybe this is the right choice. Ochiko continued to stare at her hands as a pink flame-like aura surrounded both of them. Maybe she needed to bring change to not just society but herself. This world they live in doesn't listen to kindness or words. All they respond to is strength, and if she needed to destroy her quirk to do that, to make sure there is never another Himiko Toga, then she would gladly do so, and now she knew her master would be there for her no matter what. He will help bring the change she wanted by giving her the strength she needed to do it. 1 week later, it had been 1 week since Izuku's talk with Ochiko, and he couldn't be happier with the result. Ochiko had begun her training once again with even more vigor before reaching her old level with ease, much to the annoyance of Denki. The former had thought she would leave the program, but it seems his rival would stick around a little while longer. This causes Denki to also increase his training, both trying to reach their highest level yet, with Izuku ecstatic. It also helped that the other students had started to slowly grow their own strength. Truly, they had become one of his strongest classes yet. However, that didn't apply to all of them. Bakugo growled as he tossed his towel onto his bed and sat on the edge of it with a grunt. He looked down at his hand, forcing out with a struggle the cyan blue curse energy. It looked weak as well, making him growl. What was he doing wrong? He did all the exercises, hadn't used his quirks since they began, and yet he still couldn't use this curse energy or make it stronger. No matter what he did, it just wasn't working. All his classmates, minus Melissa, were succeeding in drawing it out, or even more than that. Yet he and Melissa were stuck at a crossroad. No matter what they did, they just couldn't get stronger. As Bakugo moped in his anger, a letter appeared from a shadow on his dresser, catching his attention. Bakugo scoffed as he slowly stood up and picked up the paper, inspecting it. It was old parchment, its yellow paper making it obvious. Bakugo picked it up with a raised eyebrow as he opened it. Finding it blank, Bakugo cursed, thinking he had been pranked, about to throw it away, until a thought crossed his mind. He poured curse energy into the parchment, causing words to begin to morph onto the parchment. Bakugo sat down as he began to read the letter. Dear Kitsuki Bakugo, if you are reading this, then you are smarter than what the singularity gives you credit for. I know you are struggling with your curse energy and non-existent curse technique. I can offer you something more than that singularity could ever give you. He holds you back from your potential. He holds you back from your destiny. The fingers are the key to your awakening. Find them. I will send more instructions. Trust no one. The singularity has eyes and ears everywhere. I'll be in touch. K. Bakugo began to smirk as the parchment began to disintegrate in his hands. It seems he had a chance after all to claim his destiny. 1 month has passed. A bus traveled along a mountain going at a decent speed as the sun shone brightly on the white vehicle. Inside the vehicle was the whole class of 2A as they set out for a field trip. They were going to try and have fun at the forest camp they tried to go to so long ago. Now's the time to actually enjoy the time, while also getting some training in. It was also a time for the class to reconnect since most of them had been gone due to the Jujutsu. It was time for Class 2A to have a good time. Or so it was supposed to be. But something felt off with the new sorcerers, something the heroes of the class could tell automatically. Melissa, Bakugo, and some of the others felt normal, but the top three just felt off. Ochiko, Denki, and Yui still acted the same way they did before, but their aura about them felt off. It honestly made the others a little terrified of them, like how most of them had an innate fear of Izuku. Speaking of Izuku, he had also joined along with Maki to watch his students and to still train them. It wasn't all the students, though, as Tamaki was sent on a mission. Fua and Mai were back on campus, making something for Izuku that would be useful for the training. The rest had come along on the trip, including Yui as his guest. A loud snore echoed throughout the bus, causing the occupants to sweat drop as the source of the snoring was Izuku, who was leaning all the way back on his chair. Next to him was Maki, who sat there motionless, but a very obvious tick mark was on her head. Truly, a brat was all she could think about in that moment. While the sensei continued to sleep, Mina couldn't help but turn to her classmate. Mina, are you sure he's that strong? Ochiko? Ochiko? Yep. None of us have even gotten close to even landing a hit on him. He's on a whole other level. Though compared to the league, I can't tell yet, since he has never fought any of us seriously. Mina, yeah, I can tell, but something just feels off about him. Like he's familiar but at the same time so foreign. I don't know how to describe it. Ochiko did understand what she was saying. She had felt it since the moment she had met her master. Obviously, it was the first time she had met him, so she knew nothing about him. Yet, at the same time, it felt like she should know him like finding a missing puzzle piece, but no puzzle to put it to. A long-forgotten puzzle. Ochiko. Well, I can't really answer that, but trust me on this. Sensei is reliable and very kind to us. Bakugo, speak for yourself. He only cares about you, Battery, and Mute. The rest of us he can care less about. As long as you all are safe or getting stronger, he's happy. Deku could drop dead tomorrow, and his first response would probably be who? Melissa. Now, let's not act like he hasn't saved our lives. Plenty of times. If he truly didn't care, Kakin, we would have died a long time ago. Bakugo huffed as he looked out the window with a growl, while Melissa just patted him on the back. With the mood ruined, the rest of the bus ride was quiet as they traveled to the camp. This time, the bus pulled into the grounds, allowing the class to start falling out. But what they didn't notice was the sorcerers staying by the bus as they waited for Izuku to exit. Well, the sorcerers of Yui, Ochiko, and Denki, and the rest had gone in to join their class. Soon, Izuku stepped out with Maki, yawning as he looked around the forest. He cracked his neck as he motioned for the three to come close to him. Izuku, begin. Denki smirked as he got engulfed in yellow curse energy and blue lightning. Ochiko responded in her own, covering herself in pink energy, a serious expression on her face, while Yui took a superhuman leap back, grabbing a charm from her wrist and forcing it to grow, revealing a sword that was jagged like a lightning bolt. A neutral expression on her face. Denki charged towards Ochiko, who barely blocked a wild lightning from Denki as she got launched back. Izuku trailed behind them, making sure the spar didn't go too far as the triple threat continued. Izuku began to analyze his students. Izuku, these three are easily my standout students for Japan. Without them, Japan would probably be one of my weaker batches. All have made great strides, but still have some problems that need fixing. The rest of their class is useful fodder, but these are my gems. Ochiko punched the ground, causing a massive quake that forced Denki to stop as he leaped back, a little annoyed. A pink X5 appeared over her head before disappearing as she grabbed a boulder and tossed it in the direction of Yui, who easily cut it in half with her jagged blade. Denki then tried to punch at the distracted Ochiko, but she extended her hand out, causing the air to grow thick, blocking the blow. Izuku. Ochiko has grown considerably since my talk with her. The only problem is that the time period during which she regressed her curse technique on purpose has held her back considerably, which has allowed Denki to be comfortably stronger than her. Yet, if I were to say anything, Ochiko is much more creative with her curse technique and curse energy than Denki. She figured out that her curse energy property allowed her to save a multiplier and use it at any time she pleased as long as she took no damage. Also, figuring out the limits of her curse technique, where she learned she could touch the very air and alter its weight to heavy, making everything her shield. The main problem I see with her is that she still hesitates too much. She doesn't use her all, and in this line of work, that's dangerous. Ochako was about to punch Denki in the face after the air shield disappeared, but hesitated, allowing Yui to rush her on the side, forcing Ochako to put the air shield up again as the blade connected against it, while an electrified punch went against the other one. This caused the three to be in a stalemate. Denki tried to attack Yui, thinking she wasn't paying attention, but Yui pulled the blade back and blocked it, allowing the sword to absorb the energy, where it began to crackle with lightning. She then whirled, landing the hit against Ochiko's shield, launching her back with a boom as she was launched through several trees. Izuku, Yui, haven't had much conversation with her, but from what I've heard and seen, that seems normal for her. She's the first heavenly restriction that I've met that's similar to the hack. From what I've been told, she's near special grade level, but most likely is a special grade one. She hasn't fully realized her potential, but I can tell she'll be a real handful once she does. Obedient and follows around to a T. Her only flaw is that she doesn't have a curse technique. Denki and Yui began to duel, where Denki was getting frustrated due to Yui's curse tool absorbing all the electricity and getting redirected around them. Yui was about to cleave Denki's arm off when a scarf caught around her arm, making the fight come to a standstill, and a frown appeared on Izuku's face. They turned to see the class in horror at what Yui was about to do and how violent the fight had gotten in such a short amount of time. To them, it felt like each one of them was going for the kill. Aizawa, being the one to stop it as he activated his quirk, forgot that it did not affect the two as they just stared at him with annoyed looks. The sorcerer stood amongst, looked away as they could tell Izuku was pissed and didn't want to see one of his outbursts. Izuku, Cyclops, what do you think you're doing? Aizawa, I'm stopping a student from harming one of my own. She was about to cut off his own arm. You were just going to let it happen. Izuku, this is my training exercise. Leave what I do with my students to me. And last I checked, they had decided they wanted to be sorcerers instead of heroes, meaning they are now my responsibility. Aizawa, I can. Denki, you heard him, Aizawa. Leave us alone. With Denki's shout, his curse energy flared, burning the scarf and allowing Denki to land a punch against Yui, who barely blocked in time as she was launched across the forest with a crash. At the same moment, a giant boulder was about to land on Denki, who barely avoided it as it came down, destroying the bus and a chunk of the area. Denki reappeared and began running towards where the bus came from, where Ochako stood, who was slowly punching a rock as a counter began to count above her head. Denki appeared from the tree line, his arm pulled back, ready to land a hit. When every cell in Denki's body screamed at him to dodge where he barely weaved as Ochako threw a punch, which caused a X-15 counter to appear as a torrent of violent wind tore from her arm, tearing Denki's arm clean off, forcing him to leap back. A portion of the forest lay in ruins, as Ochako waved her hand around like popping her wrist as Denki stared her down as his arm began to regrow. The tension between the two is tense. Izuku, Denki, the brightest diamond out of this batch, has taken on Jujutsu faster than any student I've ever taught. He's raw in a lot of aspects, along with being sloppy with his usage and curse energy, relying on overwhelming his opponents. But his raw power, adaptability, and potential are unmatched. However, his arrogance is starting to make him stagnant. It's good to have some, but if you don't grow with it, then it's just false confidence. In the distance, Yui cracked her neck as she stood up from the hole she was in. She shrank the sword, putting it back as a charm as she pulled a little chain hanging from her skirt, enlarging it, making it into a normal chain that she began to twirl around her before wrapping it around a large tree next to her by its base. Before yanking towards her, making the chain act like a chainsaw, tearing clear through it, making it topple, where she then went under it, doing an atlas hold before getting a running start and throwing it like a speed towards the direction of Denki and Ochako. Yui, enlarge. As it neared the two, forcing them to look at it, the tree grew to the size of a redwood, forcing the two to work together to destroy it. As Ochako tapped Denki on the back, increasing his weight as he stood in front of Ochako and expanded his aura, tearing through a hole in the tree while also lighting it on fire. The two jumped out and landed in a clearing where Yui stood, chain around her, carving up the ground. The class watched from a distance, not close to the carnage but very obviously not far. Yet, all were scared for their classmates. So, Aizawa made a call. He turned to Bakugo and nodded his head towards him, where Bakugo launched himself towards the fight to break it up. A cocky expression on his face as he exploded towards them. As the three sorcerers were about to clash, he landed in the middle, making them freeze and grow annoyed. Before he could do anything, though, a chain wrapped around him and glowed pink as he was launched back on his back, not able to move. Izuku, you know, I heard dogs become submissive to stronger dogs. So, what's wrong with you? This isn't your area, mutt, as they say in the acting world. An extra for one play could be a star on another stage. This isn't your stage, extra. Izuku walked over to the downed Bakugo as the trio continued their conversation, with Izuku watching. As Bakugo lay there fuming in rage, the only thing on his mind was the letter and the lone finger that rested in his pocket. The finger he stole from the box on campus, tucked neatly in its curse seal in his breast pocket. The three continued to battle until midday, ending in a draw as Izuku stopped them and told them to go get lunch. To his enjoyment, the three talked to each other, comparing on what each one could have done better. Izuku stopped them before they got too far away. Izuku, before you guys go, Yui, give the Susanoo to Denki. I think it will benefit him more. Denki, this curse tool is called Susanoo. It absorbs electric energy and can redirect it in a desired direction. You struggle with range, so this will help greatly. But don't become over-reliant on it. As Izuku was explaining the curse tool, Yui had enlarged it from her charm bracelet and handed it over to Denki, who looked at it in awe. However, before he could put it away, Yui grabbed his wrist and looked him coldly in the eye. Yui, if you break it, I'll cut a nut off. Her tone was blank, but the threat was clear, making even Izuku swallow a little as Denki shivered in place. The trio then returned to the central part where they found their classes eating, yet didn't even want to look at them out of fear. The trio didn't seem to notice as they continued to discuss their fight and changes, while Denki focused on asking for tips on the sword. Izuku and Maki sat at the very end of the table where Izuku wrote in a yellow journal, number 50 at the corner edge next to a symbol, while Maki cleaned the sword that always rested on her back. It seemed it would be an interesting vacation. That night, footsteps slowed and crunched through leaves as a pair of boots tried to sneak away from the cabins. The scene shifted out, showing Bakugo lurking as he walked away, until he reached a clearing where a parchment could be found nailed to a tree, with only one phrase on it. Consume the finger. Bakugo froze as he pulled the concealed finger out of the pocket of his shorts. He stayed at it, contemplating it. However, somewhere else in the forest on the opposite side, several black portals opened with curses beginning to leak out, and they rushed towards the camp. At the same moment, Bakugo unwrapped the finger from its waxed seal. Bakugo gulped as he raised it to his mouth. Melissa, Kakin, what are you doing? Bakugo turned to see Melissa walk out from the tree line with a worried expression. Images of all their childhood memories passed through his mind, making him smile as he said one final thing. Bakugo, becoming number one just like I said I would. Bakugo swallowed the finger. Across the forest in the camp, the sorcerers fought their hardest against the curses, with most of the weaker ones like Momo and Gyro playing defensively around the others since their curse energy was strong enough, while Denki, Ochiko, Yui, and Maki were on the hunt, killing any curse they came across with clear intent and only seriousness on their face. It didn't help that the average strength of the curse was grade 1, with the curses averaging in the hundreds. Maki cleaved another in half as she scoffed, scanning the carnage around her. Then, everyone felt as if a blanket of evil had consumed the area, making everyone freeze. Maki recognized this feeling immediately as she gripped her sword and was about to run in the direction the feeling came from until an enormous giant special grade crashed in front of her and slammed its fist down on her, pinning her to the ground as she barely blocked in time. Denki began to sweat at the heavy feeling in his heart while Ochiko tried not to throw up from the nausea that had consumed her. Yui almost collapsed to her knees, but they all got their bearings as they used the curses as distractions. What the hell was going on? Was their only thought. Bakugo began to twitch and growl as he collapsed to the ground. His body continued to convulse as he hugged his arms to his stomach before ripping off his shirt as tattoos began to glow in and out all over his body. His body twitched and cracked as something tried to take over. Melissa was about to run forward to help her friend until a hand grabbed her shoulder, stopping her. She turned with tears in her eyes to Izuku, who held an annoyed look. Izuku, I wouldn't do that if I were you. He's already a lost cause. Melissa, what are you talking about? He's right there. We can still help him. Izuku, that isn't Bakugo anymore, Melissa. Is something far more dangerous. Melissa, what are you talking about? I'm going to go help him. Melissa got loose from Izuku's grip and ran towards the now still Bakugo as the tattoos stopped glowing and now rested on his back. Melissa stopped, though, as she touched his back with a worried expression. Melissa, Kakin, are you? SHNG. The forest fell quiet as Melissa's eyes widened before a drop of vital fluid escaped her mouth. Her upper torso fell to the ground forward while her lower body went back, as her body lay in half. Bakugo stood up to his full height as he began to flex his body around and crack his neck before beginning to chuckle that turned into a full manic laughter, it not matching Bakugo's voice at all. Bakugo, this feeling of flesh once more is so nice. A new world. A new experience. Oh, how I can't wait to enjoy the cuisine of this world. Quirks. Such an interesting concept. I might find enjoyment for once. This body, though, it's even weaker than that brat's body. Izuku. Well, he was the runt of my students. Bakugo turned, showing his face, 4 eyes with a wide grin, and tattoos. Sukuna had been reawakened in the new world. The king stared at Izuku, inspecting and seeming to hum in satisfaction as if appreciating art. Sukuna, there's something about you, boy, that I like. You just feel different. Try this out. Sukuna flicked a finger towards Izuku, who just casually raised his hand as the invisible cut connected with it, causing it to go around Izuku, cleaving the tree line. Izuku popped his wrist with a smirk as Sukuna gave his own. Now this brat was interesting. Izuku. Come on, Sukuna. You can feel that one finger is nowhere near enough to kill me. Sukuna. Indeed, it isn't. So what now? Are you going to kill me? Or are we going to enjoy ourselves a little? Izuku laughed as he took off his glasses to meet Sukuna's red eyes. Izuku. We'll have our dance another day, Sukuna. So, no, I'm not going to kill you. After all, I'm the one who sent the letter to Bakugo. Sukuna was confused about what Izuku was saying until he began to look through the memories of Bakugo. This caused him to laugh at how pathetic it was for this brat to be betrayed and played from the very beginning. Now he truly was interested in this man before him. Sukuna, truly an interesting being you are. So, tell me why go to all this trouble just to free me? Izuku. First, is the runt dead? Sukuna. Oh, this boy. Yes, he's fully gone. He put up quite a fight, but compared to that brat, he was nothing in resistance. Plus, once I killed this chick, he just gave up, though he seemed to hate you a lot. I can't blame him. You have a very punchable face. Izuku, I get that a lot, but some good news at least. That's one less loose end. It's pretty simple why. Because I felt like it. But more importantly, it's just so lonely. You should understand that feeling well. Since I was 5 years old, I have been the strongest in this world and the second most experienced sorcerer, no matter what. Then to hear stories of the past world, on how strong Gojo Satoru was, how terrifying the King of Curses was. It angered me to my very core how unfair it was that I alone stood at the top, not because I decimated my competitors but because I was born on the peak. So I devised 2 plans. Izuku smiled as he began to walk around, forcing Sukuna to keep an eye on him. Sukuna couldn't help but smile as he stared at the boy, finding his interest in the boy growing each second. Izuku. First, I have to bring this world caught up in its curse energy to free the sorcerers from the old world. Freeing the strongest from that time, Satoru Gojo. Then I would free you from your shackles by finding a suitable body for you. Then, Once you and Gojo are ready, I will kill both of you. What do you think? Sukuna, you have caught my interest. Boy, what's your name? Izuku Midoriya. Sukuna, I hate to admit it, but that white-haired freak can back up his talk. You thought. I'm not certain you would be able to keep up or back up what you say. Izuku, I guess that's true, but have some faith in this new world. Now get stronger for me, Sukuna. I'll be waiting for you. Sukuna, I can't wait to cut your face off and eat it. Izuku chuckled at that as he snapped his fingers, making Sukuna disappear. Izuku, well, it looks like we'll find out if that day comes. Izuku turned to the camp and hummed as he saw that almost all of the cursed spirits were dead. That meant the second phase was about to start. Izuku, let's see if Kenjaku found some interesting sorcerers. The Hellfire Curse. Denki sloppily cleaved a lion curse in half, causing it to burst into ashes from the electric charge. Denki whistled as he inspected the curse tool Susanoo. It felt amazing in his hands. Sure, he didn't know how to swing a blade properly. However, he could still feel the massive increase in his fighting prowess. Like a missing piece of his puzzle was found, Denki used his senses to feel for more curses, but grew disappointed, feeling almost all of them were dead. Now that he had a second to think, he thought about that feeling from before, that intense evil presence that had washed over him. It was so heavy that it had almost gotten him killed by a curse. It had disappeared as fast as it showed up, but still, he couldn't get that feeling off his heart. As he was feeling out the area, 4 signatures appeared that were just as vile, making Denki go on guard. A black portal appeared before a blue orb fell out of the portal, landing on the ground. The orb broke open, creating a skeletal figure, making Denki's eyes go wide, seeing the curse that stood in front of him. The skeleton walked on wobbly legs towards Denki. Bits of burned flesh clung to its body, before it looked to Denki and combusted into blue flames, where fiery organs appeared in the skeleton, and charred flesh merged over it before 2 flaming eyes completed the face, creating a walking burning man, Darby. Denki, he became a curse. Of course he did. He wasn't killed by curse energy. And that Nuki became scared a lot of people. It doesn't mean the rest of the league also became curses as well. The curse popped its jaw in place as it stalked towards Denki, making him go on guard as he poured his yellow curse energy out, forcing blue lightning into the blade, causing it to crackle to life. The Hellfire Curse didn't seem to respond as it conjured a ring of fire around its feet. Denki responded by copying the move as well, making an electric field to form around him. Humming as he felt his electricity seemed to become more controlled than before. Denki, it seems he isn't a stable curse, most likely feral due to how he was viewed when he died. That means I need to kill him now before he regains his consciousness. I defeated a special grade fire user before I can do it again. Before, this monster would have slaughtered me, but now I have the strength to back it up. Denki tried his new blade and shot a lightning bolt at the Hellfire Curse. The bolt flew straight for the center of the Hellfire Curse's chest, but the moment it exited Denki's electric field, it whirled off track and hit a tree. This seemed to awaken the curse as its head jerked to look at Denki and roared, releasing a wave of blue fire. Denki immediately stepped back and rushed forward, doing a downswing at the curse, who combusted into pure flames, avoiding the hit and reappearing at a distance. First flames, then skeletal bone, then the burnt flesh. Denki cursed under his breath as he dodged another wave of blue fire. Denki, it. I forgot as a curse for a second. Natural order doesn't apply to it anymore. Denki kept trying to get close, but every time he tried to use the distant sword attack, the lightning bolt always whirred erratically and missed. It didn't matter if he even rushed towards the curse and tried to hit it, cause every time it disappeared into flames. Denki's frustrations began to grow as his lightning reacted with him, crackling angrily. Denki, what the hell is going on? Why can't I hit him? The sword is working. Nothing's working. What am I doing wrong? Denki's frustrations got voiced loudly in his head as his lightning continued to crackle violently. Denki, though, noticed that his lightning only crackled accurately in that circle he created around him, but any that escaped out of it went randomly. Thus, It caused a memory of Izuku talking to Denki after one mission. Flashback. Izuku. Denki. I must admit you have grown strong since I first met you. However, is that your problem? Denki. What do you mean? Izuku. Your curse energy has reached new heights of strength that you never had before. Something you probably never imagined you could reach. Which shows. I watched some clips of your time with your quirk, and I hate to say it, you're using your curse energy like your quirk. Denki. What do you mean? This isn't making sense, Master. Izuku. Like your quirk, you're just pouring all your curse energy out and overpowering your opponent. This works against someone weaker than you or inexperienced. However, once you fight something equal to you or experienced, that method doesn't work anymore. Curse energy requires technique and control. You lack control, Denki. I want you to start looking into how lightning reacts naturally in the world. It will help you greatly. Denki refocused, feeling his curse energy going rampant, and took a calming breath, making the lightning hum around him as it settled. Denki then stared at the sword, hearing it hum along with the tune of his curse energy. Denki stabbed the sword in the ground and rushed towards the hellfire curse at lightning speeds, causing it to disappear again while leaving behind a wisp of fire that burned Denki. However, he ignored it as he swung behind him with his fist, making an arc of lightning escape his fist. Instead of going in a random direction, though, the lightning arced back and connected with the grounded sword, creating a wide arc of lightning that slammed against the chest of the curse as it reappeared, making it slam against a tree. Denki grew a smile as he rushed towards hellfire. The curse screeched as it released another wave of blue fire that Denki ran straight through, surrounding himself with a cocoon of electricity before appearing on the other side and landing another hit straight in the jaw of the curse. The curse exploded in a fire cluster, forcing Denki back, making the curse appear between him and his sword. The curse began to twitch as it reformed this time. Blue piercing eyes formed, showing understanding in them. Hellfire was beginning to form a consciousness. Soon, it would be near the level of a disaster curse. Yet, Denki held a confident aura about him as he extended an open hand towards the hellfire curse. Susanoo began to vibrate before exploding from the ground and going towards Denki's hand, piercing straight through the curse's chest, causing a splurt of purple blood and blue flames to leak out. Denki then changed his open hand into a finger gun, the serious expression still on his face. Hellfire tried to morph away, but the sword kept his physical body in place. Denki, goodbye, Darby. I'll do this so Todoroki doesn't have to go through any more heartbreak. A bolt of lightning disconnected from Denki's fingers, hitting the tip of the sword and causing the sword to burst with power, imploding the curse from the inside out, leaving nothing but ashes as the curse died. Denki let out a sigh as he deactivated his curse energy, feeling a huge presence in a different part of the forest. This caused him to turn to look with a hint of confusion and curiosity, a familiar feeling as 3 signatures disappeared into this presence. Denki, Master's Domain. A familiar love. Momo, Gyro, and Yui took defensive positions on a cliffside, taking out the elephant curse together with Momo creating a spear that Yui used, tearing the head clean off while Gyro strummed a guitar, causing its head to explode. The trio took a quick breather after they defeated the Grade 1, already having killed several of them together as a team. That's when they felt a sickening aura fill the whole forest, making them queasy and confused. Then it went away just like that, putting them all on edge until a black portal appeared in front of them, a boot stepped through, and then followed by a person making all of them freeze in shock. The person wore combat-style attire, gray combat pants, and boots, along with a tank top that revealed dark scars all over the woman's arms up to her neck, where loose blonde hair rested. Momo, Toga? Momo's voice betrayed her as she could only feel pure shock in her being. There was no way she could be alive. Was she a curse? Even though Momo could feel something was off about her, she didn't feel like a curse, yet she also didn't feel like a human either. Though what was unnerving was that she had a blank look that matched someone who was annoyed. Toga, yes, I am not familiar with you. But yes, that is my name. Gyro, Ochiko said you died. Toga reacted a tiny bit at the name but kept her stoic face on. Toga, I did die that day, and Ochiko helped me feel at peace when it happened. Unfortunately, I am back, and now I need to kill you three. Toga clapped her hands together, pointing them at the three as the scars on her body began to bleed, with the vital fluid going to the center of the palms. A loud hiss filled the air, putting the three on guard before a line of red exited her hand at high speeds, going straight to Momo. Yui reacted first, though, grabbing Momo and leaping away in time on the side of the cliff with the stream chasing the two until Gyro strummed her guitar, causing a wave of blue sound to hit Toga, pushing her back but stopping the attack. Toga stood tall as she shook her hand, getting loose as she remained stoic. Carrot Himiko Toga is the first successful experiment of Kenjaku in the New World after the merger. After her battle with Ochiko and her death, Himiko Toga's body was taken from the morgue by Kenjaku, where it would then fuse her body with a cursed womb, death painting, bringing her back with a binding vow, creating the first mix of a human and a curse in the New World. Toga, Master said to keep an eye out for the monkey, but I didn't think you'd be that much of a threat, considering your disability. Yui uncharacteristically growled as she enlarged the chain on her waist and threw it at Toga, trying to wrap it around her. However, Toga blasted away using blood on her feet to propel her backwards. Gyro, what are you doing? Ochiko said you had redeemed yourself. Toga looked touched for a second before regaining her stoic look as she created a blood bow and shot several arrows into the sky that came crashing down with the three barely avoiding as Yui tried to stay on Toga's heels. Toga, I'm touched, but I wouldn't say I was redeemed, just given peace by Ochiko-chan. Unfortunately, I was brought back, and now I have far too much to protect. Much more important than my love for Melissa and Ochiko. Toga created several orbs of it around her before expanding them out towards the three, where they exploded, covering them in vital fluid. Toga then immediately went to kill Gyro with a blood dagger when Yui appeared in front of her again, blocking the blade with her chain. However, Yui could tell that her speed was drastically cut. Gyro came to her senses after Yui and strung a note, causing her strings to turn gold as she began to play a song. Immediately, a golden aura surrounded Yui's fists, allowing her to easily overpower Toga and launch her back. Toga grunted as she clapped her hands and launched another beam of blood at them, where Yui began rushing towards Toga at full speed, easily reaching her and forcing her to aim to the sky by grabbing her wrists and forcing them up. However, Toga was prepared for this. Toga, supernova. A hidden orb behind Toga exploded, knocking Yui into the cliffside, causing it to crack down the middle. Toga then whirled around, propelling herself towards Momo and encasing her hand in vital fluid as she connected, plummeting the sorcerer to the ground, and in the same moment swung her arm behind her, causing it to turn into a crescent attack that connected with Gyro, killing all three. Well, that's what she thought at first. The smoke from her attacks cleared, showing a golden shield around all of them, where the sound of music playing filled the air as Gyro panted as she continued to play. Toga was about to continue her assault until the sound of thunder went off in the distance. Toga, it seems Darby has died once again, and Master is leaving. Next time, put up a challenge. Toga stepped through another black portal, causing Gyro to slump as she stopped playing, panting as her senses were overwhelmed with a dense burst of curse energy. Infinity versus gravity. Ochiko slammed a palm into a curse, causing it to implode from the inside out, staining the ground purple with vital fluid. Ochiko dodged a diving curse as she kicked it in half, followed by tearing the head off of a monstrous-looking one and crushing the head in her hand. Ochiko stood protectively in the cabin where her classmates hid, trying to protect them as they couldn't defend against the curse effectively. As she killed the last one, the pressure of evil surrounded her, making her almost vomit as she stared into the forest, but it went away as soon as it appeared. Yet her nerves were still shaking with anticipation. That's when she felt the four signatures all extremely strong, two though on a different level. Ochiko turned behind her, seeing a black portal appear in the middle of the courtyard. She fell into a defensive stance as it opened, revealing a young girl, maybe around 14 years old, with pure white hair. She wore black sunglasses and wore what looked to be a white middle school uniform. She held a bored expression as she stared at Ochako. Unknown character. At least make this interesting. The moment the girl said that, her hand got covered in a blue aura along with Ochako, causing her to get pulled towards the curse user. The curse user pulled her other hand back and threw a punch that Ochako caught. Yet her palm stopped halfway from the fist, confusing Ochako and allowing the girl to land a kick across her face, launching her away. Ochako, what the hell? I touched her. No, I fell just short. Is that her curse technique? Focus, Ochako. Information is victory. She can pull things to her or attract, and my attacks can't land on her. Is it possible to affect that barrier with my technique? Only one way to find out. Ochako didn't give a second to the unknown curse user, as she immediately rushed towards her opponent. The curse user fell into a defensive stance as Ochako connected with her arm, causing the pink X2 to appear, making Ochako smile as this barrier seemed to count. The cursed user didn't seem to care about her defense too much as she lazily tried to block each blow, none reaching her, but the counter continued to rise with each hit. The curse user went for a swing at Ochako's face, but easily got swatted to the side, leaving the user's chest wide open, where Ochako threw a two-handed punch, and an X20 fled above her head as it connected with her opponent's chest. At first, the curse user looked unimpressed until her whole being felt like it got hit by a truck as a nosebleed came over her, and Ochako's fist landed, knocking the user all the way across the field until they got embedded in a tree. Ochako's pink aura exploded as she felt on fire, ready for a fight as the curse user. The girl laughed as she tossed her broken glasses off her face, showing two brilliant blue eyes that creeped Ochako out. My name is you, and you are very interesting. You actually touched me. What's your name? Please tell me. The girl, now named You, began to become manic as her body barely stood up, making Ochako sigh as she poured more curse energy into her body. Ochako ignored the girl as she began to bounce in place, her pink curse energy flaring, while You got wrapped in cyan-colored one. You still don't know my curse technique. That's fair. Staying quiet to avoid any attack. I actually got lucky there. If you had put 1 more ounce of curse energy, you would have killed me. Now let's take this seriously. You rushed forward at the same moment as Ochako, causing pink and cyan to clash as the two traded blows. Ochako is trying to start a combo, but you figured it out already, constantly interrupting the counter on Ochako's head. Ochako, growing frustrated, grabbed the Aoi, solidifying it and slamming it against you, causing it to shatter like glass. You giggled from the break in reality. Ochako's curse technique is called the gravity curse technique, similar to Yuki Tsukumo's Star Rage. Ochako can increase the gravity of any object she touches, and the more she increases it, the more curse energy is used. The only limitation is that she needs to touch it, and she cannot increase her own gravity either. How Ochako was able to get through infinity was mostly pure luck and due to Yu's arrogance. Ochako had used the multiplier from her curse property, forcing the gravity of infinity to increase, forcing an opening as the infinity fell to a lower point, thus giving Ochako the opening. Whether this will work on a serious Yu or Satoru Gojo is yet to be seen. Yu punched Ochako across the face, making her spit out as she glared at Yu while the curse user could only smile. Ochako couldn't help but think that the girl in front of her hit like a truck, whether it was just her strength or curse property. She couldn't tell. Ochako tried to punch Yu in the face in retaliation, but got stopped by infinity once more. Yu grew a cruel, wicked smile as her hand glowed blue. Ochako immediately grew on defense as she felt Yu's curse energy begin to swell to even higher heights. Ochako leaped back the same moment a blue ball left Yu's hand, it being the size of a Yu. Maximum output, lapse blue. The blue orb expanded into the size of a car and began to consume everything around it, with Ochako barely able to avoid it. Well, most of her, as her right arm was consumed by the orb before it disappeared as it floated into the sky. Ochako held her stub with a glare, stopping the bleeding from her upper arm down. Yu began to stalk towards the kneeling Ochako with a manic smile as she began to smile. Ochako tried to force this reverse curse technique to appear, but her reserves were too low. Plus, the pain was throwing off her thoughts, making the struggle useless. Frustration was consuming her, not because of her impending death, but more due to losing like this. You, need a hand? Don't worry. I hate it when my stronger toys break. It's okay. It'll all be over soon. Izuku, unfortunately for you, not just yet. You came to a stop as a man appeared between the two. For the first time in her life, you felt terrified by another person, similar to her master, but she was more disturbed by them. This was pure fear in her heart. She knew that in her heart, if she fought that man, she would die. You, the singularity. Izuku turned to Ochako, inspecting her, and hummed as he looked over her arm. Ochako wanted to cry seeing her master, but remained strong. Izuku, you did well out there. Ochako. She got you good, though. Come on, you have a fight to finish. Ochako, but I. Izuku, Ochako, you did well for someone who's never seen a curse technique like that. You've lasted longer than anyone could, going in blind. But you can win this. Ochako stayed at her arm, getting frustrated again. Izuku, clear your thoughts, Ochako. Focus on your breathing, and I'll help you regain those lost reserves. Remember to clear your frustrations, and I'll coach you through the rest of the fight. Izuku turned back to you, making her grow nervous as she took a step back, questioning if she should run for it. Izuku's hands came together, with the top knuckles connected as they faced towards you, and his thumbs connected at the top, followed by a surge of curse energy as darkness consumed the area. Izuku, Domain Expansion, Library of Autolycus. The Grand Library formed once again as the white marble formed and the thousands of bookshelves with a golden light illuminating the area. Then the golden grand clock formed on the ceiling, with it chiming as the hand began to count down. Ochako was looking around in or before she felt a burst of curse energy consuming her, with you feeling the same thing. Ochako, now with the boost, remembered Izuku's words as she took a calming breath, pouring curse energy into the wound, causing the bleeding to stop. She took another calming breath as her arm began to reform before becoming complete. Ochako had a wide smile on her face as she stared at her restored hand. So did Izuku, but he was staring at the clock before turning to Ochako. Izuku, remember that feeling? Now finish this. Ochako, hi. Ochako immediately rocketed towards the still disoriented you, landing a punch at her face, where it once again got blocked by infinity. But what took both you and Izuku by surprise was when trails of light escaped from the connection before the fist whacked you across the face. You recovered and immediately launched Ochako back with blue, where she reoriented herself mid-E, grabbing a bookcase and throwing it at you while increasing its gravity. Izuku, to unlock not only the reverse curse technique but also a domain amplification as well. Truly an amazing student. However, that 6 eyes isn't too far behind. You seem to analyze Ochako, going over her pattern of curse energy with her 6 eyes, before it clicked as her curse energy shifted with her wound starting to heal as well. You had unlocked reverse curse technique and immediately tried a new technique as she pointed a finger gun at the bookcase, the tip of her finger creating a red energy ball. You blasted it at Ochako, destroying the bookcase with ease as the ball continued forward, with Ochako putting her hand out blocking it. The red sizzled in her palm as it burned her hand, and she made an effort to stop it. Though by instinct she pumped her curse technique into the red, causing her pink energy to mix into it, causing it to turn a magenta color as she poured her curse technique purely in the middle of the red, causing it to collapse in on itself and disappear, shocking you. Ochako then fell to the ground and rushed towards you, throwing another punch into you's stomach using domain amplification. At the same moment, the clock chimed for the second time. You was staring in pain and shock after seeing this girl destroying her technique in seconds. Izuku hummed with a smile as he watched from a chair, 2 journals in his hands. Izuku, truly, a great student. To be able to counter a red so naturally. Sure, there was a small possibility she would cause a purple, though that might need more testing to confirm. Now let's see what this 6 eyes is going to do. You growled as the two began to trade blows with each other, Ochako taking the hits outright while healing. And you, having her infinity break through constantly as Ochako continued to land brutal hit after brutal hits, making this sorcery battle turn into a slugfest. Yu growled as she surrounded Ochiko's left leg and blew and pulled, forcing her off balance and allowing Yu to throw a punch into Ochiko's chest, knocking the wind out of her. Ochako remained on her feet, allowing Yu to throw a second punch across Ochiko's jaw, making her head crack back and a tooth fly out. However, Ochako just adjusted her head and glared as her tooth grew back. Yu pulled her fist back, causing Cyan to cover it, while Ochako did the same, her fist getting covered in pink, before both threw their punch, causing a spark of black lightning to consume the area as they both landed a black flash. Both stood their ground, though as vital fluid poured from their bodies as Ochiko's left hand was connected to Yu's chest, and Yu's right hand was in Ochiko's gut. However, Yu growled and reacted first. A blue aura surrounded her other hand, creating a blue to launch right into Ochiko's chest. Izuku was about to step in, not wanting to lose an important piece, until Ochako met the attack halfway. Izuku thought she had gone insane from the black flash until he noticed that her hand was encased in a mint-green aura. Her fingers began to be dunked into the blue until her curse energy began to merge into causing the mini black hole to stop, then reverse as it reversed from existence, shocking Yu before Ochako clenched her fist and punched Yu across the face, landing another black flash, launching the girl back across the room, where she landed with a thud. Ochako huffed and puffed as her curse energy flared again with the pink aura like fire consuming her again. Izuku couldn't help but smile widely, seeing Ochako progress again, even showing more leaps in his domain than Denki. And as the clock was about to chime for the final time, Izuku, curse technique reversal, truly fascinating and just on time as well. Izuku stayed at the clock as the hand was about to reach the top, but at 6 minutes and 59 seconds in Izuku's domain. It shattered as a blood arrow pierced it from the outside before scattering into thousands of arrows that destroyed the barrier. Due to Izuku enhancing the interior to contain the 2 special grades and slightly speeding up his countdown. It had weakened the exterior enough for it to be broken, bringing the 3 back to the courtyard. Before anyone could reach Yu, a black portal formed under her, taking her away. Izuku let out a frustrated sigh as he appeared next to Ochako. Izuku, you did well out there, Ochako. Come on, we need to start creating a new plan for you. And we need to discuss what happened here. All of them left, and I can't feel them anymore. Ochako could only nod as she slowly let her curse energy down. Her heart was pumping, but she still followed her master as they returned to the main building. Thus came an end to another raid on her summer vacation. 2 days since Forest Raid. Izuku and Maki sat in silence in the back of a limo. It was a dreary day in Japan as the rain hit the limo hard, causing constant thuds against the metal roof. Both were silent, with stoic faces, neither in a good mood since the raid. Izuku for his own reasons, while Maki for a different reason. Not only were 2 students dead, which had greatly hurt the Jujutsu Society's reputation, but she had lost her purpose as well. The whole reason why she fought for so long. Maki reached for her neck, an all too familiar habit she had developed over the years. But instead of feeling the comfort of the prism that warmed her hand and reminded her of the family trapped inside, instead, her hand grabbed nothing as that was the main goal of Kenjaku's sorceress. Maki remembered the night vividly, feeling the all too familiar presence of Sukiyuna. Then a portal in front of her opened as a familiar presence confronted her. Kenjaku. Sure, the curse was in a different body this time, but she recognized those head scars from anyway. As she got ready to fight, she had felt something behind her before everything went dark. Next second, she was up against Kenjaku. Then next, it was gone along with the prism. It had left Maki in a depressed state as she could only wonder what had happened. There were very few people in both the old and new world who could get behind her and knock her out. Maki was knocked out of her thoughts by Izuku, who grabbed her attention with a question. Izuku, Master, are you okay? Izuku doesn't call Maki Master often, usually only when he is serious, showing how the forest raid had affected him. 2. It was the first time since he was a child that a rogue sorcerer had outright attacked something he was protecting. It showed that Kenjiku was finally ready to enact whatever plan he was cooking. Moki, I'm fine, Izuku. We need to talk to the students once we return. Izuku, yes, but not today. Today, they can mourn in peace. They lost 2 friends after all. Moki hummed in agreement as she thought about the report of what happened. That Bakugo was tricked into eating the finger by Kenjiku, causing Sukuna's release and enough of a distraction for him to escape. This resulted in Melissa's death as well. Today was Melissa's funeral, and she was seen as the hero who saved the world. It was a very public funeral, and the two decided not to participate as they saw it as rude to do since they felt they weren't close enough, and they were blamed for her death by the public. Plus, it didn't help that half of Japan blamed Bakugo for her death, with them not understanding that it wasn't him anymore, while their students believed they could still save the young man from Sukuna's clutches. Moki, first, though, we need to talk to Tengen-sama to discuss how we move forward from here. Now that the prism is gone, we need her advice more than ever. Izuku grunted in response, obviously not happy to see Tengen again. The two had never gotten along since she got her new vessel a few years ago. He somewhat respected the weird god thing when he was younger. Now, he just hated the thing, and the feeling was mutual. Moki, we need to see her, Izuku. She can help with finding the prism and maybe find any recruits we might have missed. Izuku didn't respond as he instead looked out the window, watching the rain slowly come down. The rest of the ride was quiet, leaving it somewhat awkward. Moki remembered the days of the young boy in his youth, following her like a duckling, so bright and hopeful. What happened to that boy? Ochiko sat in a small room in a black dress, fitting her body. It was a grieving room inside the government building where the funeral was being held. Ochiko looked exhausted as she just sat there defeated. She rubbed her fingers against each other. It used to be a way to calm herself down, but with the faded pads, it didn't do much to calm her down. Her first friend was dead, her body mangled to the point that they made it a closed casket funeral. Killed by the boy that inspired her competitiveness. Whether by force or his own will, he consumed that finger. Now, Melissa was dead, and Bakugo was seen as a traitor who killed her out of jealousy. Master had explained what really happened. Bakugo consumed the finger, and that allowed the curse living in the object to regain control, killing Bakugo's soul in the process, and Melissa as well. Though she and the class refused to believe that Bakugo was gone, maybe they could free them from that curse. Her master, though, made it clear that Bakugo was dead, and only Sukuna remained. Ochiko was knocked out of her thoughts by the door opening, making her look up to see Denki enter with a stoic look. Though not necessarily close to Melissa, Denki still respected the girl severely. Yet if he was honest, he was more torn up about Bakugo. Though Bakugo could be a trouble at times, he still saw him as a good friend, or was a good friend. He sat next to Ochiko, his black pea suit not matching his bright yellow hair. His demeanor was sluggish as he leaned his whole body against the wall, his hands resting on his lap as he stared at the ceiling. Though the two couldn't describe themselves as close during their first year, since they became sorcerers, they found themselves spending more time with each other and looking for the other. Since they knew, besides their master, the other was the only one who understood this lonely feeling. Ochiko, do you really think Bakugo did it on purpose? That he ate the finger knowing full well what could happen? Denki didn't answer right away, but sighed as he rubbed the back of his head. Denki, if master says so, then it must be true. Yet, I still don't know how he even got the finger. Ochiko, the master showed the letter to us. It seems that Kenjiku gave him the proper seal to bypass our seals. Then it seems Bakugo was tricked into consuming the finger, which would grant him all the power he needed to challenge Master. Denki gave a huff as he massaged his hands. Denki, Bakugo. Bakugo, going for the easy way out for power. Thought I'd never see the day. Ochiko smiled slightly at the morbid joke before gaining her stoic look again as she thought of something. Ochiko, do you think what Master said is true? Bakugo is dead as well? Denki didn't respond right away, instead staring down at the floor. He knew Master and Moki knew exactly what this Sukuna figure was and how dangerous it was. Meaning that if they both said that Bakugo was dead as well, that means the only option is that he is dead. Yet, Denki couldn't fathom his friend going out like that. No, he wanted to hold out hope that Bakugo was fighting this monster all the way. Denki, I want to hope, but... Ochiko finished his sentence. Ochiko, but is most likely dead, like Master said. If that's the case, we'll be the ones to avenge his death. We will kill Kenjiku. Ochiko offered her hand to Denki, a look of pure determination on her face. Denki looked to her and gave a nod as he took her hand into his. Neither of them realized the type of vow they just made. Underneath Kyoto's shrine, Izuku and Maki walked the decrepit halls of the labyrinth where Tenjin rested. Tenjin was one of the few who came over from the merger, though she was in a new body when it had first happened. Her consciousness deleted the one from before, and around 3 years ago, she got her new body. Maki had sought the woman out several times for advice over the years, as she was one of the only ones to come from their shared world besides the body-switching curse. The two eventually arrived at a grand wooden door which opened as they approached, Izuku whispering something about someone being pompous. The room was grand, seeming to never have an end or beginning with mostly filled with video games, knickknacks, or plushes. Izuku scoffed as the two continued to walk in until eventually stopping at a giant grand chair where someone casually read a newspaper. The headline read, Death of the One for All Hero. Maki, greetings, Tenjin-sama. Tenjin, hello, Maki-san. It's good to see you again. Tenjin put the paper down, revealing her new form. It was that of a young girl, maybe in the mid-years of elementary. She wore a traditional yukata in the color of black, which contrasted with her white hair. Her ruby eyes stared at them with expectation, though Izuku could only stare at the horn on her head. The one evidence that showed it shouldn't exist, somewhat like himself. Tenjin was the first person to have both a quirk and a curse technique that coexisted with each other at their full potential. For everyone else, it was either one or the other, but for Tenjin, she could use both with ease. It pissed Izuku off with immense jealousy, but he would never let the smug little brat know that. The child turned to Izuku and made a face as if seeing a piece of dog poo on her shoe. Tenjin, singularity. Izuku clenched his fist at the name given to him. Not once since the moment they met has Tenjin ever called Izuku by his name. Izuku, beach. Maki elbowed Izuku in the stomach, making him growl as Maki bowed to the child. Tenjin motioned for the two to sit as 2 chairs materialized behind them. Maki obliged while Izuku remained standing. Thus began the meeting of the heads of the Jujutsu Society. Maki, Sukuna is released once more. The fortunate part of it is that he took over our weakest student, so he doesn't have a strong curse technique, though that means he lost control almost immediately. Now, Sukuna is on the loose somewhere in Japan, most likely with Kenjiku. Tenjin, why didn't the singularity kill Sukuna before he left? Tenjin looked to Izuku with a questioning glare, making the young man scoff. At the look, he then decided to answer. Izuku, they set up a tiny veil to prevent me from entering, and only me. It broke once Sukuna gained control, but by the time I arrived, Sukuna was gone, most likely due to the same portal technique the curse users used to enter the camp. Tenjin looked skeptical of the answer but turned back to Maki as the woman spoke once more. Maki, if freeing Sukuna was their goal, they succeeded, but I believe Sukuna and the curse users were just distractions. Their main goal was most likely the prism, and now Kenjiku has the prism. Tenjin, now this is troubling news. The prism holds the sorcerers from the old world. Our goal has been to free them, but it's still unknown how to. The singularity proposes we need to increase the total curse energy of the world, but I believe that isn't the way anymore. If it was, we should be there already, considering there are 15 alive special grades, and over 1,000 sorcerers in the grade 1 level across the world. Almost triple the amount we had in the old world, not even including the rogue sorcerers or Kenjiku's troops. Maki, then that means we're missing something, and until we get the prism back, there are no experiments we can perform. Kenjiku is most likely holding the prism to prevent us from freeing the others as he did with Gojo-sensei. Which means, if possible, we were close. Izuku, or it wants to free them itself. That'll kill them all before they even come back. It's hard to tell with that curse. Tenjin, we need to wait, it seems, for Kenjaku to reveal his hand. I will monitor the world for the prism's energy to appear. Until then, call the other special grades and tell them to prepare for a battle. You may leave. Izuku began to turn around to leave, but before he did, he gave one last finger to Tengen before snapping his finger, causing him to disappear. Tengen, so immature. Maki gave an eye to the literal child next to her, as if asking if she was serious. 3 years ago, a star plasma vessel was found in the alleys of downtown Tokyo. Severely malnourished and injured, Izuku and Maki took the girl in, where they discovered her potential as a vessel. The girl named Eri was taken to Tengen, where the assimilation took place, and Tengen gained her new body and a quirk at that. Thus was the current body of Tengen. The next day, Izuku sat at the head of the classroom, and the mood was somber as 2 seats were empty, which seemed to just make the room dimmer. Izuku sighed, annoyed by the mood as he clapped his hands together, getting the class's attention. Izuku, get that sad thing out of here. They are gone, and there's nothing to bring them back. All we can do now is avenge their deaths. First, though, we need to get you all stronger, and I mean all of you. The class was a little thrown off by Izuku's insensitive way of going about it, but they still grew determined by his words. Izuku walked forward and pointed towards Yui, motioning for her to walk up, as she would be the guinea pig. Izuku, I will admit I slacked with everyone here, minus Denki and Ochiko. For that, I apologize, so I will help you get to better heights. As I know you all fought a special grade 1, and the fact that you are alive is impressive, but not enough. So, today I am going to teach you something that will benefit you all. Incantations, signs, and rituals. Most of the class got a little confused by the name of the lesson. Izuku, Jujutsu is kind of unique and very technical. Information is the key to victory. Most of you know that, and so does Jujutsu itself. If you speak your technique out to the opponent, your Karis energy output and technique will increase in power, though you will reveal your technique and lose all advantage and secrecy, which leads to this next portion of the lesson. Gyro, come up here. Gyro gulped as she went to the front with her guitar on the side before pulling out the purple guitar, as Izuku handed Yui a grip strength machine. Izuku, Yui, please show your base strength. Yui squeezed the machine, causing the numbers to go up to 700 kilograms. Izuku, good. Now, Gyro boost her as you did on the mountain. Gyro nodded as she poured Curse energy into her hand, causing it to turn the normal blue color, and strung a chord, causing the strings to turn gold as a wave of sound escaped, consuming Yui, causing the number to jump to 800 kilograms. Yet, it was obvious it took some effort out of Gyro, evident by the sweat on her forehead. Izuku, good. Now, as you can see, Gyro was able to use a part of her Curse technique with minimal effort. Yet her Curse energy reserve still took a hit. The reason for that is that this isn't the optimal way to use your Curse technique. I taught the way where you call it out and just use it. Crude, ineffective, and consuming, but useful if trying to practice your control. Now, Gyro, this time, give it a name and rhythm instead of just a note. Gyro, but what am I? Izuku, that I can't answer. Look into your Curse energy, into your very fabric of being. Play what it calls to you. Speak what it tells you. Gyro nodded as she took a steady breath, looking into her being, her Curse energy surrounding her as she began to play. The rhythm was upbeat, almost militaristic, as her strings once again began to turn a golden color. Gyro, Curse technique boosting beat. The golden sound waves were more frequent and stronger as they covered Yui in a thicker coat. Yui put more strength into the grip tester, causing it to make an audible crack before steaming as it broke when Yui reached the 1,500 kilograms. The class looked shocked by how much her power increased by, along with Gyro who wasn't even winded. Izuku, and that's the power of incantations and ritual. It boosts the Curse energy and output of your technique while minimizing the amount you use. It's like having a spell, you can conjure fire before that, but it's still just fire. With the incantations, though, it becomes something more. That includes signs where it could boost just as much, or for some, it is the only way to call their Curse technique. Now we are going to go gym beta, and you all will practice these incantations and some of you some moves. Only problem is that some of you have support type of curse techniques, but I still believe in you. Next month, I will teach you binding vows. In gym beta, Ochiko stayed at the pillar in front of her with an inquisitive look. Trying to think of what to do, she stared at her hand, making her pink curse energy appear before exhaling as it turned to mint green as well. She didn't fully grasp what this new energy was. Izuku, that is your cursed technique reversal. Ochiko jumped slightly as Izuku appeared next to her, also staring at the curse energy in her hand. Izuku, if a sorcerer gains the reverse cursed technique, there's a small chance they gain a curse technique reversal. Basically, it does the opposite of what your curse technique does. For example, the sorcerer you fought, her curse technique pulled things together like a black hole. Blue. Her curse technique reversal pushed things away. Red. Ochiko. So now I have something similar to my quirk. Izuku. I guess, I don't really know what your quirk was. Ochiko. I could negate the gravity of anything, but I don't think that's what my curse technique is or what this new power is either. Izuku hummed with curiosity as he motioned for Ochiko to continue. Ochiko. Instead, I think I am increasing the weight of the target and now decreasing the weight as well. Izuku. What's so different than gravity being changed? Ochiko. Because I'm giving them the weight they aren't used to, or an object. When I touched that sorcerer's barrier, I felt her whole being but at the same time nothing. Yet, I still affected a single portion of the barrier, not the whole barrier. I think that if I touch my target, I can affect any part of that target. Ochiko's curse energy covered her in pink flames as she rested a hand on the pillar of rock. She focused on the center point of the pillar as she began to channel her technique. Then she looked into her soul on what to say. Then she found it. Ochiko, collapsing star. Ochiko focused her technique in the very inner center of the pillar. The reaction was imminent as the pillar began to sink into its center mass, until it turned into a ball of crushed rock, maybe the size of a yoga ball. Izuku whistled, impressed by it. Ochiko, I understand it now with my curse technique, but I need some time for the new half of myself. Thank you, Master. Denki. Denki stayed at his pillow with a frustrated look as he was warned not to do anything until Izuku talked with him, which seemed to be now as Izuku appeared next to Denki, noticing the frustrated look on Denki's face. Izuku, I can answer your question from a mile away. Why are you not allowed to use your curse technique? Denki, yeah, hit it right on the nose. I'm falling behind. I need to keep up and... Izuku, your curse technique is a one-and-done type. If you use it, you will die. Denki looked taken aback by it, as Izuku continued to explain. Izuku, your cursed technique is mythical beast amber. Your whole body is used as a fuel to power your cursed energy to new heights. The problem is that it won't stop once it activates. You would reach a level of strength that could only be comparable to a deity, yet once your technique runs out of flesh to consume, you are dead. Denki looked heartbroken, hearing that as he punched the pillar in frustration, causing a large crack to appear. Izuku sighed as he walked away, leaving Denki to fester on that for a while before he talked to him again. Izuku discussed the training with the rest of the class before standing away, letting them go about their training. Yui was fighting Amakiji and Mai, using their summons or creations as target practice while Fua healed any wound she got. Momo was practicing her cursed tool creations while Gyro practiced different notes and songs, seeing the different effects she could make, finding a new one right after another. Izuku, maybe a regrading for the Ejak girl is needed, interesting as well. Her mutation isn't disappearing as her cursed energy increases. Perhaps she could use both with no drawbacks. To be fair, not many mutant types have decent cursed techniques. What was her name again? Kyoka Gyro. Let's see how she develops. 6 months later, an explosion rocked the center of Tokyo as a curse the size of a bus started wreaking havoc. It looked to be a mix between several types of animals as it made random noises, smashing cars. The heroes in the area redirected civilians and saved any that got too close, but couldn't do anything to the actual curse. Lemillion was on the scene, saving as many as possible. until a shrill scream echoed throughout the street. Well, Emilian saw a young girl about to get crushed by the curse. He tried to reach her. He really did, but he was too slow as the curse roared, slamming its fist down. The same moment, a single song echoed throughout the street, causing the curse's arm to stop short as it connected with a golden barrier that was around the girl. The curse turned, seeing a new woman standing there defiantly. Guitar in her hand, the strings a golden hue. Though what Lemelian intoed about the girl was the white uniform with purple accents on it. Her once short purple hair now went long, stopping at her shoulders. Her uniform was the pants version of the uniform, but still held a skirt on it. The newly appointed special grade, Kyoka Gyro, started to drum her strings, causing them to turn red along with her humming to herself, as the curse turned its attention to the special grade. The curse roared as it went to punch the sorcerer until Gyro changed the rhythm, causing the strings to glow a dark red before strumming down, causing a slash of red energy to cut the curse down the middle. Gyro, rock score slasher. The curse immediately dispersed from the attack, causing the crowd to cheer as Gyro waved. The view shifted to someone watching from a TV with Gyro's face on it. Izuku and Maki watched from the UA conference room. Ochiko and Denki nearby. Ochiko smiled at the TV while Denki looked a tiny bit jealous but mostly happy. Izuku, it seems like I had a good feeling about her having a change. Usually, mother's technique is never wrong. What happened to her that allowed this massive change? Ochiko, you said that her technique can measure our potential, right? Maybe it only reads one of her abilities instead of the whole thing. Izuku, perhaps. Well, at least we have another special grade. We'll inform her once she returns. Now we can begin our meeting about the future of Japan. We have found the location of the prism. So, this was the end of part 2 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.